Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome on stage Roger Bad, USAID's Kenya Investment Mechanism Chief of Party, to officially close this specific session and just give us a few sentiments on what he's thought about it.
Thank you so very much. And this panel has activated me so much that I just could not help myself to bring out a few key points that I think are really significant for not only Kenyan Investment Mechanism and what USAID's goals and objectives are to push through us, but more importantly, really the really objectives that these panelists have raised in terms of the need in the market. And there's a few things I'd like to point out. First, Waziri Tendai, thank you for asking the question about what are we trying to achieve here? And it is really quite simple from our perspective. What we're trying to do is we're trying to promote equal access to resources and equal control over resources. That's the ladder we're trying to move, or that's the ladder on the wall that we're trying to move. Equality. And when we talk about the various businesses, we talk about good businesses. If it's not a good business, it doesn't matter if it's a woman-owned business or a male-owned business. Bad business is bad business. But what we're trying to be able to promote here is equal access to both resources and equal access or control over resources for good businesses. And David, thank you so very much for taking one for the financial sector team. You carried the weight well, my friend. Congratulations. Yes. I've been a banker for 40 years, and it takes bravery to do what David just did. And so thank you for that. And I think what's really important here to recognize is that this was one voice. And ABSA is progressive. And while there are certain elements that we can highlight of some progress, the reality is we are just scratching the surface. We're just really starting to address the real challenges. And we need that to sink into the financial sector to be able to actually help move that needle. And I challenge the financial sector to do that. We talk about collateral. Collateral cuts across both men and women. However, when you start talking about equality of access and control over resources, that's where the gender bias comes in. And so what I want to challenge the financial institutions to do in Kenya is come up with better solutions for regulations and work with the central bank to change those regulations in such a way that they are not penalized when they make viable loans to businesses on an unsecured basis. The financial institutions have their arms tied somewhat when it comes to collateral. And it's time that the financial institutions stop hiding behind those regulations and get out in front of it to find solutions to move Kenya forward. And that doesn't matter if it's a woman-owned business or not. But the women-owned businesses are being penalized more than men. And that's where we want some equality. My friend from the CMA mentioned it earlier, and I think this is one of the up-and-coming things that is going to be a bit of an equalizer, and that is crowdsource funding. The reality of, the regulations of allowing crowdsource funding to take place in Kenya is coming, and it's coming very soon. Kenyan Investment Mechanism has been working hand in hand with CMA on regulations for new listing rules on the Securities Exchange and being able to endorse and help bring crowdsource funding. And once that happens, crowdsource funding is an equalizer. And I think that will be one of the elements to be of value. And was there anything else? Phoebe and Gabriel, thank you for the work you do. Phoebe, thank you for your advocacy and support. That's the kind of voice we need constantly. So very much appreciate that voice. You know, I'm not the right person to stand up here and talk about gender equality, because the fact of the matter is I actually do not understand it like these women entrepreneurs just explained. There's not a man in this room who can understand it like they do. And so it's time that we men open our ears and start listening, and we find solutions. To the entrepreneurs, we need your voice in the room to learn. It's why we create forums like this. But it's your journey. It's your story of origin. It's your successes. It's the challenges. That's what we need to hear. We need to hear it loud, and we need to hear it clear, and we need to hear it often. So please, continue to stand up and tell your story and tell the truth about where it's been problematic, because we cannot move forward without that. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. I promised my team that I would be a listener, but I just could not help myself with a great panel, a great group of panelists, and the opportunity to recognize that we actually have a long way to go in our learning journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Roger Bard. Esteemed guests, we are very proud to have had you today. And the conversations have been very interesting throughout the day. And now I just want to invite two people to recap the entire day and tell us what has stood out, what lessons have we learned in the process, and what has it really been like. First is George, who is a media communications and public relations professional who has specialized in creation and implementation of strategic communication strategies, media relations, development communication, and stakeholder engagement. He is the current communications director for USAID's Kenya Investment Mechanism. Secondly is Lucas Barake, who is the monitoring and evaluation director and acting deputy chief of party at the USAID Kenya Investment Mechanism. He has over 19 years working experience in designing and implementing effective results measurement systems and overseeing program delivery in various sectors. He holds a master's degree in environmental studies and an undergraduate degree in environmental planning and management from Kenyatta University. Gentlemen, I think you can take it away from here.
Okay, I think maybe I can use this. Thank you very much for that introduction. And our work here is pretty much easy. We have had a really exciting day. We have had over 130 of people actually in here in person, and hundreds of others on Zoom, on Facebook, on YouTube, following the sessions live. And that is to really say thank you for everyone who has joined. And my work with Lucas is pretty easy. It's really to just look at what has been the day about. And we started by Roger explaining that what we do is actually to activate private sector capital into underserved markets, trying to be like that, the bridge between who have money and who don't have money, who need money, so that they can actually work closely together. Roger did mention that to date, we have been able to mobilize over $485,000 US dollars against a target of 520. And he went ahead and just explained the sort of partnerships we have established, touching on some of the lessons that we have been able to learn. And so I am going to turn into to my colleague to just let me know, for the first session, what stood out for you the most?
Thanks so much, George. It has indeed been a very productive day. Many lessons coming up, very interesting discussions that have come up from the panelists, the participants. It has been very enriching. George, you can actually do a book from the lessons, the discussions that we have had today. So it is not easy to summarize that in 5 minutes, but we'll take some few pointers of what came out in the first session. Remember, this is where we were talking about financial innovations development and uptake. And there are several key things that came up. Of course, we heard about the launch of specialized agribusiness lending products, with the best practice including taking a holistic approach, that when you are developing these products, you need to go to the market. You need to feel the ground. Things can be different. Yeah, that the ground can be different. So you need to take a very holistic approach, and also look at the value chain and tailoring the product to the timing, volumes, and direction of cash flows, and an understanding of all the relationships among farmers, processors, input providers, exporters, and all value chain actors. Very holistic approach. And then we also learned about the increasing embrace and integration of digital solutions. Digital solutions, very key, to improve the efficiency of bank operations and also enable faster, more convenient customer applications, disbursement, and repayment. You heard of Peter Ndirangu, Head of Finance at Specialized Financial Services at Facts, talking about their supply chain finance, the factoring, invoice financing, very innovative indeed, trying to address issues around the collateral that we are talking about, what is emerging as a key challenge. There are innovations in the market, including the approach that Ndirangu mentioned. And then, of course, Family Bank. They also talked of the innovation that is coming up, and look out, in the next 30 days, something is coming up, addressing the women issues, a product specifically targeting the needs of women entrepreneurs. That is coming up. And of course, we heard about how BASPs are helping to close the gap between SME capabilities and what banks are looking for in loan clients.
Wow, thank you so much, Lucas, for the summary of that first day. And on the second session that we held, it was really all about technology, a subject that personally I am very, very passionate about. And we looked at how technology-enabled solutions deployed into rural areas. And we heard from leaders such as iProcure and Inspira Farms, who have leveraged the data collected and on their platform platforms and been able to use that data to deploy solutions that really address the needs of their clients. We understood that from these both companies, they have been more recently successful in raising fairly large amounts of capital, and it is just because of how they are using data to make the investors make decisions about the solutions they are offering. Success raising such funds require the ability to speak the language, knowledge which investors are interested in, which businesses, and the ability to keep focus on the running of a sustainable solution or a sustainable business. And while you are seeking financing, then to their point, what came out so strongly from these two businesses was that you cannot do this alone as an entrepreneur. Even if you have understood how to leverage technology to use data, you need the services of a business advisor, a business advisory service providers. And that is one of the reasons we are holding this session, so that we can offer SMEs, entrepreneurs, the opportunity to network with those business advisors who can help you successfully raise capital, even as you are using data for your business. So Lucas, can you give us some highlights from USAID's address?
Indeed, George. This is what we had from Benson Kimidi. Of course, first of all, recognizing the partnership that we're having between the US government and Kenyans to work together to facilitate county and private sector-led development in Kenya. You can remember the issue around Kenya-led, Kenya-owned, Kenya-managed solutions to Kenyan issues, an opportunity for collaborating, learning and adapting. And overall, of course, looking at the desire of the USAID to see that all Kenyans are benefiting from the development process, and at the end of the day, they are contributing to Kenya's economic development. Partnership, a key theme that is also emerging. Partnership between the private sector, the public, government-to-government partnerships, very important indeed.
Thank you so much, Lucas. And after Benson Kimidi, we managed to hear from our chief guest, who really spoke so eloquently and expressed his appreciation to USAID and the American people for the partnership that and the collaboration they have had with Kenyans towards shared prosperity. And he said that he really appreciates the work that USAID has been able to do through Kenya Investment Mechanism. He resonated with the themes of this learning event, whereby he said he likes it being anchored on access and impact for shared prosperity. What he did is to call upon all of us to ensure that access and impact are not just words that we read or hear, but these are things that we feel and identify with. I know, Roger, you are very passionate about what people feel. And the chief guest was really asking us not to just speak about access and impact, but actually ensure that people feel this. So Lucas, can you give us some highlights from our last session?
Yes, indeed, George. The last session, of course, one key thing that came from the chief guest from the Bible, that my people perish because lack of information. I took that. And information, even in the last session that we have just had, one of the key things that came up is that information is very key. So it is not all about, like Phoebe will say, the 2M. It is not just money and market. Information is also very key, that it can sort out so many issues. So that was really very memorable. So in this last session, of course, focusing on unlocking capital for women business owners, we heard that in addition to the challenges facing SMEs, that is women SMEs, women business owners face additional barriers. There are many additional barriers, including access to collateral and information and gender bias. Of course, David did a good job trying to unpack the issue of collateral, and I think it is all about information. The innovations could be there, but the information has not reached the people that need to have it. So we still have a lot of work that we need to do, collaboratively and in partnership. And then we also add about promising solutions. Strathmore Business School, what they are doing, the beautiful work they are doing around training women entrepreneurs and conducting research on women's access to finance. And also ABSA offers unsecured loans. This is something, the information that came up also, using the cash flow lending, which unlocks substantial financing to women-owned businesses. And beyond banking, we learned that opening up of capital markets, this is from my colleague, my friend over there, that huge opportunities are coming up. Crowdsourcing, the funding, the capital markets and new practices like crowdsourcing that will provide non-debt financing to SMEs. So this is a promising thing that is coming up, and we are looking forward towards that. So indeed, this has been a heavy day of learning, pausing and reflecting. And we are grateful to everyone who joined us in person or on our virtual channels. Thank you, everyone, and let us meet again tomorrow morning in our second and final day of this event. And also, more importantly, we cannot summarize all the good things that you have picked. So it would be nice, really, just getting one or two, Kevin's, for you as a participant in this learning event, what stood out for you? It may not have been mentioned here, but what is it that stood out from you? Just one or two.
Yes.
And also, remember there is a form on your tables. Please, we value your feedback. Please share your feedback on what worked well and also on things that we can do better. We value your response. Please take time to fill it. Kevin.
All right. All right, right there we've been chilling out with the two big boys, talking about lessons and really just taking us through in terms of what the day has been. Much appreciated. Let's encourage Lucas and George for some good claps for the effort they've done to put together what the entire day has looked like. Mine is simple in this context, just to say thank you once again for being on standby since we started this early in the morning until right now, this particular hour. I just want to urge, if at all you've not gone through the program really well, it's an action-packed day tomorrow, whereby we start the day again with keynotes out of our representative coming in, courtesy of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. We have Mr. Tendai Mchana, who is actually the CEC, Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives from the county government of Mombasa. He is going to be present here tomorrow, and he has a short session to put across. And also, maybe if I may just take you through in detail in terms of one or two of the other sessions that you should expect tomorrow. This one centered around the business enabling environment, talking policy discussions on what could be done to accelerate or rather open up the ecosystem within the business endeavors, both within the small and medium enterprises and the macro and small medium enterprise. There's also a session which is going to be the last one for the day, centered on the aqua culture sector, looking at the fish dish. For those who love fish, yes, fish is a dish, but it's also a business. And last but not least, on that particular day, we'll be delving in detail, exploring the partnerships between the financial institutions and the business advisory service providers. What could be done? Could there be lessons? Could there be challenges that occur when it comes to really synergizing and fostering that particular relationship? So we'll get to delve more of that tomorrow. My name has been Kevin Strandik. As we depart for the day, I am asking you, when you get off the door, there's tea, there's a bit of snack, there's a bit of coffee. So if you don't know George, please find time to know him. If you don't know Roger, please spare a minute to know him. If you don't know Kevin, please say hi. And to any other person present, please spare a minute to know a friend, so that later on you can tell a friend to tell a friend. It's been a pleasure. Let's do this again tomorrow. Stay well, have a blessed evening, and see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.